leave this world. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if any of you reaches كتب عليكم إذا حضر أحدكم الموت إن ترك خير الوصية, that person should leave a will, okay, that للوالدين والأقربين بالمعروف, that will which is made in fairness, حقا على المتقين. So what is a will? Okay, and who can a person write their will for? And which person should be the one writing will? So number one is the one who is writing the will, okay, doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be of a really they have to be very, very old or terminally sick, or it doesn't have to be something that is done in an old age. In fact, the Sahabas, the moment they would learn an ayah, they would immediately apply it. And they would write their will and roam around with it. And if and Abdullah bin Umar said that the moment I heard about will from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, since then my wasiyah or my will was with me. Okay, so firstly, will does not mean that something that someone has to write in a very, very old age. Okay, it's not, it can be written at any time, okay, by someone who is mature enough to write a will. Now, what is a will? So a will, when a person leaves this world, okay, and if they have anything that they own, okay, in terms of wealth or property, it is distributed according to the Islamic law of inheritance. So, for example, that person's family members, okay, including their children or their spouse, the parents, or whoever is there, okay, from the closest, and who is alive, according to the Islamic Sharia, that amount is distributed. Okay, a will is not written to change the legal Islamic inheritance. Okay, for example, if a son receives half of the amount that the person leaves behind in terms of wealth, and a daughter receives a quarter, no one can make that change and give more wealth to the daughter compared to the son, even if that daughter is in need, for example. The inheritance law, okay, that will be applied regardless. So who does a person write a will for? A will is written for those people a person can give their wealth to who are not legally entitled to receive wealth. Okay, who are not legally entitled in inheritance, the will can be written for such kind of people. Okay, so who are these people that a person can write their will for? Okay, so these people is, for example, any person or an organization or any kind of charitable work that a person wants to give their wealth after they leave this world. For a believer, right? حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُتَّقِينَ, the one who's conscious of Allah. Muttaqi is the one who is always doing good deeds in their life, who doing charity in their life, who are doing righteous things in their life. So when a person wishes to continue doing righteous things after their life, how do they give, for example, someone was supporting an orphan in the community during their lifetime, or a family in need, or a particular Islamic organization, or a masjid, or building wells or something, and they would like to continue doing that. So this a will is a gift from Allah to a person. It's a sadaqah from Allah, in a sense that a person can continue to do good even after they leave this world. So a person can give certain amount from their wealth to be given to people who are not legally entitled to receive their wealth as an inheritance. Okay, now how much of a person's wealth can be given to other than their legal inheritance, the people who inherit the wealth? it's 1/3 of the wealth or even less. And the Prophet ﷺ, he preferred it that it was not more than 1/3, and even a lesser amount than 1/3, he preferred that. So a person during their lifetime can, right, give some of their wealth towards any person, any caregiver, any person in the community that they were doing it before. So what is the benefit to that person? The benefit is that they will continue. This will be a sadaqah jariyah for them. They will continue to gain good deeds through this will, right, through giving their giving. And sometimes it can be that the legal inheritance, the people, the children, for example, of that person or the family members may not be that righteous. So at least some amount is given to someone who, at least that person continues to gain good deeds or gain more hasanat through other means. So this is for a believer to even continue. So writing a will is khair, is a goodness for a believer even after they leave this world. Also, the benefit of writing a will is that a person, okay, detaches from the material possessions that they have, because they're ready to give it away in the name of Allah. A stingy person is unable to, many a times, is unable to write a will. Also, will can also be written for distribution of not just someone's property or wealth, but other things too. For example, who should be, like, some advice to the children, let's say, in terms of their iman and their deen. A person can also write some advice for that. Or for example, some kind of organization that they're running, and who they would like, who would be the next in line to lead that project or something, that can also be written. So any kind of ahkamat can be written, any kind of matters can be discussed in that will. Then also a person can write, state in the will how they would like to be buried. For example, they can advise their family to follow the prophetic way of burial, not to be involved in any kind of innovations. And so and so person, they would like their salatul janaza to be led by. So these kind of things can also be stated in one's will. Okay, so this is, again, the will is written for the people who are not legally entitled to receive a person's wealth, and only 1/3. So what did the Prophet prefer? That 1/3 of a person's wealth or less will be given to those who are not the inheritors. Okay, so, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so, and bil ma'ruf, meaning that a person's will should be written in a good manner, okay, not trying to take away anyone's haqq. If they made it family, it has to be dealt in the fairness, in a way of fairness. I know, for example, someone does not have a good relation with their family members and would like all their wealth to go to someone other than family. That is not allowed. Okay, regardless of how someone's family members are, they are entitled to receive that wealth, at least a 2/3 of it. Okay, and if someone does not write a will at all, okay, so writing a will is not a fard, but it's a very beautiful recommended act of a person. So if someone doesn't write a will, then their inheritance or their property and wealth is distributed, just the whole amount is distributed is according to the Islamic Sharia of inheritance, the legal laws of inheritance, okay, based on. And this is given in much more detail, described in the beginning ayat of Surah An-Nisa. Okay. فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ, then whoever changes the will after. So this is about person writing the will. Ayah number 181, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ بَعْدَمَا سَمِعَهُ, the one who changes the will after hearing it. Okay, So the first thing, the wasiyah should not be changed. And also another thing, going back to the previous ayah, for example, a person does write their will, and let's say their circumstances change or their financial circumstances change, and or they want to make some changes in that will, they are allowed to do so. And Umar radiallahu anhu said that a person can edit, like for example, if a person writes their will today and would like to change during their lifetime, would like to change it maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, they're allowed to do so. And the last, their final will be the one that is acted upon. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ بَدَّلَهُ, the one who changes بَعْدَمَا سَمِعَهُ, after hearing, فَإِنَّمَا إِثْمُهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ يُبَدِّلُونَهُ. So the blame will only be on those who have made the change. So for example, the one writing the will changes, it has some corrupt intention and makes a change while writing. Or the one, when the people hear the will and the family members, they try to make, for example, a parent, let's say, has dedicated, a third of their wealth to a particular masjid or a organization or particular, and the family members, let's say the sons, they don't want it, they want to keep all of the wealth and divide it among themselves. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then the sin is upon the one who changes the will. Inna Allah Samiyun Alim. Allah is all hearing and all knowing. Meaning Allah can, then the sin is not upon the person who narrated the will. Okay, who made the will? Rather, either if the person writing the will made any changes or the people acting upon it, okay, caused some sort of corruption, then there is a sin upon them. And then ayah number 182, فَمَنْ خَافَ مِن مُوصٍ جَنَفًا, meaning if a person, the one writing the will, okay, someone calls another person or hires a lawyer or whoever, and he suspects that the one who's stating their will is making some unjust statement. For example, a person says, I would like that my wealth, half of my wealth should be given to this person. And the one writing the will, they see that this is not allowed. Only 1/3 of a person's wealth can be given to someone other than their legal inheritance. So if a person suspects an error or injustice, okay, أو إثما فأصلح, then that person should make amends. That person should make the change. So for example, someone hires an Islamic lawyer, or just a lawyer in general, or the one, from an organization. ISNA has these facilities and services available too. So if a person suspects that there's something unfair, then they should make a change. For aslaha bainahum, that person should make a change in that. And in this change, because in the previous ayah, we learned that if someone tries to change the will, then it's a sin. But here, if a person who's writing the will or the people around suspect that there's something wrong with the will, it's not according to Islam, or sometimes in the will, money is or property is being given to things that are not lawful, that is not Islamic. Then a person can فَأَصْلَحَ بَيْنَهُمْ, then the person can change it. فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ, in that kind of change, there is no sin. Okay, so I hope it makes sense. Okay, a person is not allowed to change anyone's wealth unless the one writing the will for another person suspects that the person who is giving the will or saying the will is saying something that is unjust, that is unfair. That person is taking the right of the people that Allah has given the right. For example, the legal inheritance. Okay, or they're crossing the bounds of Allah, or there's something that in the will that is either unjust or un-Islamic. Then that will, that the person can give suggestion. Inna Allah ghafurur rahim, and Allah is all forgiving and all merciful. Okay, so what is the benefit of this type of islah? Okay, the one doing the one firstly, if a person fixes it, then the one giving their will, at least they will not be committing any kind of sin, okay, or committing any kind of injustice, and everyone would receive their legal right. Because when people do not receive their right, it can lead to a lot of disagreements between people. Like, for example, someone tries to take the right from their legal inheritance and tries to give it to the people who are not more of it to the people who are not legally entitled to receive. So what does that cause? That causes a lot of disagreements and breaking of family, change in family dynamics, and weakening of family ties. Okay, so this should be, and in fact, when someone is alive and they're distributing their wealth or something, or unjustly, then the one people around him or her should give them an advice, should give them with the knowledge, should give them advice how to fix their will. Okay, so inshallah, bismillah. So these are the ayat about writing a will, and the one who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if it is not permissible for any Muslim who has something to will, so anyone who wants to write a will or give a will, to stay for 2 nights without having his last will and testament written and kept ready with him. Meaning that whoever wishes to write a will, or what wishes to give something, or even just a nasiha, an advice, they should have it either verbally or documented, okay, and should not even waste a day or two without doing it, because shaitan can make a person forget, and death is inevitable, and no one knows the time of their death. Again, and all of this is more information on this is about writing wills and legal inheritance. How much is the portion for each legal inheritance of a person? It's all mentioned in Minhajul Muslim volume 2. So anyone who wishes to know more, inshallah bismillah, can go over that text and learn more about the legal distribution and things about like what can be written in a will and who can write it, and who is entitled to receive other than the family members a person can write for, inshallah. Right, so Allah's next ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the ayah before this, so these are all the ahkamat or the commands for the believers. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. And before this, we learned also about the uh, we learned this before the will. We also learned about the act of if someone gets killed in the society, what is the expiation, or what is qisas, okay? And here, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is given all these legal rulings for the believers, okay, because these are important to maintain harmony in the society. Okay, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us ayah number 183, and it talks about siyam. So before that, inshallah, we'll do the word to word of this ayah. And before doing the brief explanation, ayah number 183, Ya ayyuha, O alladhina, those who amanu, they have believed, kutiba, it is prescribed or it is decreed, alaykum, upon you all, as-siyam, the fasting, kama, just as, kutiba, it was written or decreed, ala, upon, alladhina, those who, min qablikum, before you all, la'allakum, so that you all, tattaqun, you become conscious of Allah, you adopt taqwa. Taqwa has many meanings, inshallah, we will discuss. Ayyaman, ayah number 184, ayyaman, ayyamam ma'dudat. Ayyam is a plural of yawm, means days, ma'duda, meaning numbered. There are a few days of fasting. There are not many days of fasting. Faman, then whoever, kana, he is, minkum, among you all, maridun. Maridun means this person is sick. أو or على is upon, سفر is traveling. فعدة then a number, من from, أيام days, أخر other ones that a person can make up for these missed fasts. وعلى and upon الذين those who يطيقونه they can bear it. فدية is a ransom, they can pay fidya. Ta'amun, what is the fidya? It is feeding. Ta'amun miskin. So this is for a person who is unable to fast for a long period of time. They can pay a sort of compensation, which is called a fidya. Faman, then whoever tatawwa, he voluntarily does khayrun, good, meaning he gives fidya. Fahuwa, then it khayrun is better, lahu for him. وأن and that تصوموا you all fast خير is better لكم for you all. So basically fasting is the best, but if someone is unable to do so and they're going to be sick for a long period of time or in old age, then they can give fidya. In kuntum, if you all truly تعلمون, you all know. Okay, so inshallah bismillah, we will talk about fasting as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated. So fasting is the pillar of Islam. It is a mandatory pillar of Islam. It's obligatory on every person that is mature, is healthy. Okay, fasting is obligatory on each and every person. It's an obligatory pillar of Islam. Okay, and the one who misses fasting, there is a big punishment over that person, because this is one of the pillars of Islam. It's what makes a person a Muslim. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, all those who have believed. And whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, okay, all believers. So Prophet ﷺ said that whenever Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, pay close attention. Because whatever comes after that, it's going to be something very beneficial for a person. Either something that is very beneficial, or it's something that Allah has forbidden a person to save them from the punishment. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he tells us, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, we all need to pay close attention to what is coming ahead. Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Allah has prescribed, Allah has made obligatory on you fasting. Okay, so what is fasting? Siyam, sama yasumu, it means literally, the literal meaning of this word is to stop oneself from doing anything, and especially to stop oneself from things that a person is attracted towards, or they desire, or it's in there. This desire is like a internal desire that Allah has put in them. Okay, so siyam literally means to stop oneself, okay, from something that a person is attracted towards. Okay, كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم, just as fasting was made mandatory on the nations before you. Okay, so firstly, the Sharia meaning of fasting is to not eat or drink, and to refrain from physical relations, okay, between spouses from sunrise to sunset. Okay, and fasting, literally, the grammatical Arabic linguistic meaning of fasting is to stop oneself from anything, and especially from things that a person it's an innate nature. Things that a person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put the desire in a person, like for food, like for drink, and for physical relations. So this fasting, Allah says, this was made, it's important. How? Because fasting was made fard or obligatory, كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم, before, even on the nations before you. So the Yahud, the Jews, the Christians, the Ad, the Thamud, the previous nations also had fasting. It might not be the kind of fasting that we have, like how we fast now, but they have some sort of fasting that Allah had put for them as well. Okay, so it's not something new, or it's not something new in for the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was there even for the previous nations, just like even Salah was there, and they used to have their own form of prayer. Of course, it might not be the similar way that how we have our Fard and Sunnah and all that, but it was also there for the previous nations. So fasting was already there. And what is the hikmah of fasting? What is the purpose of fasting? And Allah tells us in ayah number 83, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. The main purpose of fasting, to refrain from things that Allah had made on a regular day. It's halal for us. On a regular day, it's halal to eat, right? It's something that Allah has made halal for us to consume good food, or healthy food, wholesome food. And for example, relations between spouses, and this is halal on a regular day, but Allah is stopping from something halal in this prescribed time. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. It is for development of taqwa. What is taqwa? Okay, taqwa is to be conscious of Allah. Okay, to feel that conscious of Allah means that Allah is always watching you. And any act that a person does, they always have Allah in their mind. Okay, another meaning of taqwa is to save oneself from committing sins. What is the wisdom? So how does a person stop themselves from sinning when they are fasting? How does fasting increase the taqwa? Okay, so for example, the month of Ramadan is like a training period for a believer. Okay, and it's a time when a person becomes more patient and tolerant. How? Because eating and drinking and physical relations, these two things are basic requirements of a person or weakness of a human being. Okay, and fasting stops a person from refraining to even do things that are halal. So imagine that when a person is not for a particular time, from sunrise to sunset, the person is unable to do things that they would normally do on a regular day. So what would happen to things that are actually forbidden, that are actually bad, like backbiting? For example, when a person is not doing the halal, then they would obviously not do the haram. Okay, that is one wisdom of fasting. Okay, so if a person can control the two desires, the desire to eat and drink and their physical desires, and discipline themselves, then they can control themselves from a lot of things that are forbidden and do more things that are beneficial. Okay, and 30 days, even scientifically, if a person wants to change the habit, then a person, and they continues to do that for a number for 30 days or so, that is enough to develop new habits and to leave bad habits. So this continuous period of about 30 days, this helps a person develop a sort of discipline and resilience. So outside of Ramadan, he can leave things which are forbidden and made haram. Okay. So for the Arabs, for example, the concept of Sawm, right? They had a concept of Sawm, which literally meant for them, they used to train their horses for battles. Okay, the Arabs, they used to train their horses for battles. And how would they train the horses? They would keep them hungry and thirsty for long periods of time and also make them run. Similarly, how in fasting you remain a person remains hungry and thirsty and avoids any kind of physical rations for that particular time. This would build the stamina in those horses. Then when a battle would take place, when they are in a battle, or they are when the horses would be in the battle, they would have built this stamina to be able to face harsh conditions. Similarly, and so similarly for a believer, the month of Ramadan is like a training period. And what happens, for example, when an army is being trained? Okay, when an army is being trained, do they face the real enemy? They don't face the real enemy. This is why, hence, the shaitan, our enemy, is locked up in Ramadan. So hence a person feels that there's a lot of barakah. It's so much easier to do so many more good deeds than on a regular day. So all of this helps. So the whole month of Ramadan is like it's like a training period for a believer. Okay, it's a training period for a believer where, even while stopping from the basic things, the basic obligatory, basic halal things that Allah has on a regular day made obligatory for us to have, like food and water, is something that we don't even think about. When a person stops from that, then it becomes even easier to stop from that which is haram, which Allah has actually forbidden. And this makes a person more conscious, more. And in fact, you must have noticed that the once Ramadan is over and you have Eid, or and you're suddenly eating the food and you're so conscious, like you become so conscious that, should I just put this food in my mouth? Or even when you're allowed to eat, that means that 30 days of 29 to 30 days of fasting has made a person so particular, so conscious, that even things that are halal now after Ramadan, a person is so careful, right? And it's thought of as, and before the rest of 11 months that we face our enemy shaitan, that 1 month of training. So the purpose of fasting is that 1 month of training, a person develops that closeness to Allah, more focus. And also things like when a person is stops themselves, the first a few couple of days is a bit difficult, and then it becomes easier, right? And then when a person's focus is not food and water, then a person can focus on their connection with Allah. Okay, and how much time do we waste about thinking what to eat? And, you can focus more of their time on ibadah and more of the time connecting with Allah. In fact, and we're going into the spiritual, but you can search up all the physical benefits of fasting. There are so many, but again, our deen, the deen of Allah, is the main focus. The main focus of ibadah and these actions is to spiritually develop us. Yes, of course, there are physical benefits. Of course, the people do intermittent fasting and all these things, and they have a lot of benefit. But our main focus should not be health benefit and stuff, but main focus should be, because Allah has told us to do so. Allah has made us obligatory on us, and this is why I need to do it. Okay, and we need to develop our connection with Allah, and when a person restrains from the things that Allah has made halal, then haram becomes harder to do. Okay, then it becomes harder but again, a person, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever does not give up false speech and acting upon it. Meaning, fasting is not just that you leave food and drink and that's it. A person develops no connection with Allah, doesn't understand true meaning of fast. This is why knowledge is so important. This is why learning about why Allah has told us what to do and why we should do. Because in ayah number 183, Allah gives us this reasoning. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, to develop taqwa. So this is the main purpose of fasting. So knowledge is important because it helps us understand the meaning behind why we do what we do. Okay, otherwise, Allah, from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, if a person does not give up false speech, meaning lying and acting upon it, and ignorance, that Allah has no need of him giving up his food and water. If a person really doesn't understand the true essence of fasting, why they have to fast, and subhanAllah, this ayah is coming so close to the month of Ramadan. We just have a few days left before, inshallah, bismillah, we enter this month, and it's so important to educate ourselves before we enter this month, right? The successful person is the one who prepares ahead for what's coming. Okay, and when you're in the middle of something and you realize that, then a person cannot reap the full benefit out of it. So it is so important for us to understand and be prepared for this beautiful month, to train our bodies, ourselves physically and spiritually for the upcoming 11 months after, to face our enemy, just like the Arabs would train their horses for the battles, to train ourselves for the battle that we have with our Aduwwul Mubin, the clear enemy, which is the shaitan. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about these days, ayah number 184, Ayyamam ma'dudat. These days are ma'dudat. They are few. They are not many. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say these days are few? Because firstly, fasting can be intimidated for some people, right? So here Allah says, don't worry, it could be difficult, but these days are few. How, for example, a doctor, this is also rahmah and love of Allah. He wants to train us, but He doesn't want to have us become intimidated from something, right? A lot of people that hear about non-Muslims or something, even some Muslims, they become intimidated and be like, whoa, especially in summer, even in the summer months when you long fast. So here Allah says that these are few days, and they are really few days. Out of the 11 months the whole year, a person only gets to fast 29 to 30 days of obligatory fasting. Just like how a doctor, when someone's in intense pain, and doctor says to them, oh, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Or when a child gets hurt and the mother goes and consoles the child and be like, nothing happened, it's just a little bit, it's nothing. So here Allah says, ayyamun ma'dudat. And another meaning of this is to tell us that it's just a few days. You need to make the benefit out of it. And how many times we've seen Ramadan come and go, and it just flies by, right? And we have reached the first 10 days, and then suddenly we're in the second middle 10 days, and now in the last 10 days. And subhanAllah, how fast. So one way is to motivate us and tell us that, it's just 30 days. But on the other hand, is telling us it's only 30 days. You need to you need to reap full benefit of it. فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا. And if a person is sick, okay, أو على سفر, then, or if they are traveling, then what can they do? فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. Then they can make up for their fast later. So here, what is the sickness? What is the sickness we're talking about? Here, the sickness that is mentioned is a sickness that a person can recover from. Okay? So, for example, when it comes to sickness, there are three kinds of sicknesses. Number one is when a person is sick, but that sickness does not have severe health effects. Okay, so fasting does not make their health severe, like a slight headache that can go away during the day, or something, a little bit pain here and there. That fasting does not deteriorate their health. Okay, so in that situation, a person can continue fasting. But in the next situation, if a person is fasting and because of they're sick, and because of that person becomes, the fasting makes the person more sick, or they have to take some kind of medication. So for that, leaving the fast is allowed. Okay, and the third situation is when the person's condition is so severe that a fasting could lead to terminal sickness or even death. So in that way, fasting should not be done. Okay, and if a person who is really sick and they fast, and subhanallah, if they leave the world in that stage, they leave the world in that stage, then what happens is that they leave the world in disobedience to Allah. So Allah has made ease in our deen. Okay, Allah has made in ease in our deen, and someone still continues to do even at the cost of their health. Right? And in Islam, there is no giving up of health for this for things that Allah has given some ease in. Okay, so if a person is severely sick, which can really affect their condition, they should refrain from fasting. Okay, and if Allah gives ease, then a person should benefit from it. Okay, so when can a person leave? A sick person who, because of fasting, their situation becomes more severe, or someone who has a condition where they have to take medication like diabetic, or something as, or they have to take medications after every 4 hours and so on, and fasting would make the condition worse. They should not. They should refrain from this fasting in the month of Ramadan. Okay. أو على سفر, if this person is traveling. Now, what is the traveling? The ruling of traveling here is the same length of traveling as when someone can shorten their salah. So, for example, and what is the legal ruling? So, most of the scholars agree upon uh it's called 16 in Arabic. It's called 16 farsakh. A farsakh is 3 miles. So 3 miles times 16. Okay, so about 48 miles, which is about 80 kilometers or more. So if a person is traveling for 80 kilometers, some scholars say 83 and 90. So depending on that, and a person is traveling and they're traveling outside their city. It's not their city of residence. Sometimes cities can be really big. Like, some cities are very, very big. So, and it's still, someone's traveling these many miles or kilometers, but they're still within their city of residence. Then that traveling doesn't apply. But here, traveling means you're leaving your city of residence, your place of residence, and you're traveling more than 83 kilometers. Around that time, then a person is considered to be in the state of travel. Then this person can leave, can leave fast this obligatory fasting and make up for it later. Okay. And so once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in travel when he saw a man surrounded by some people, and it was shadowed over. So people were surrounding this man, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw then people were surrounding a man and he was in a bad state. The Prophet asked, "What's the matter of him?" They said, "He is fasting." The Prophet said, "It is not righteousness to fast and travel," meaning a person is not greater or not more pious than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And if he says that in a long travel, then inshallah, a person can calculate based on how they're traveling, or they're traveling by air or however, or they're leaving the city and they're traveling. And if they have to leave, because of that, they have to leave the mandatory fasting, they're allowed to do so. Okay. Then um then once Prophet was traveling with the Sahabas, and everyone faced difficulty due to fasting. Prophet asked for water and drank in front of everyone at Asr time. So he broke his fast because of the difficulty of travel, so that people can break their fast. And when some people still did not break their fast, he said, "These people are disobedient, these people are disobedient." And he repeated the statement 3 times. Okay, so when a person, for example, has an upcoming travel during the time of Ramadan, they should plan accordingly. Okay, and if the travel is long, meaning travel by air, for example, or they're just traveling even by car or by road, or any way, and then it's a particular distance, then as mentioned by and as mentioned by the scholars, so then they should not fast on that day or those number of days, and make up for that fast later, because Islam has given us that leeway, that ease, and one should not cross the boundaries of Allah. Because if a person still continues to fast and falls severely sick, then that would come under the disobedience of Allah. And if, for example, one starts fasting and they believe, they're okay, and they suddenly feel sick, or because of sickness or because of travel, then they can break their fast. Okay, so these things are allowed. So, inshallah, bismillah, we will continue because there are a lot of things that we have to still learn from ayah number 184. So, inshallah, bismillah, we will continue this ayah in our next class as well. And of course, things again related to fasting. And this is a good opportunity for myself to introduce to you as well. Then, inshallah, we will be having a Ramadan workshop on March 9th uh, for uh, for for children and children of elementary, middle, and high school, and also adults can join as well. Okay, so and it will be a 1-day Ramadan workshop where we will go everything into the fiqh of fasting and what are du'as in fasting, Laylatul Qadr, the night prayers, Taraweeh, how can a person prepare the life of 1 day in the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or the Sahabas in the month of Ramadan, how would they spend? So all, and with different activities and different things, engaging for kids and adults. So we'll be sharing the flyer, inshallah, and so it'll be in the month of it will be in the month of March, and inshallah the expected date is March 9th that we'll be having. So this is a good time for us to prepare for Ramadan, and we would like we'll share all the details, and whoever would like to attend, they can register for this event, inshallah. Please, what's happening? Okay. All right, inshallah, Sister Ifat Najam, we can share the details about that, the will and the book that is used for reference, inshallah. All right, so inshallah, bismillah, we will end our class here. And if you have any questions, you can ask. Also, this coming Saturday, we have the sisters halaqa, the monthly halaqas that we already have. So we will be having this on. So sisters of all ages, or starting from 11 to 12 plus, can join this upcoming halaqa, which is happening this Saturday. And please join. We'll have a reminder, and in addition to that, also fun board games for the sisters. And our brothers halaqa will happen, or a get together will happen on 10th of February. So 2 weeks from the sisters halaqa. And it will also have similar activities and reminder. It'll be connected by Brother Qasim. So please do attend and these halaqat, and also the Ramadan workshop that we'll be having just right before Ramadan. And it's very important, as we learned from today's class too, to gain knowledge, so a person is better prepared for something, and better we use this precious time that we get, this precious Ramadan, the time in Ramadan, to use it, because none of us know if we will be seeing the upcoming Ramadan or the next Ramadan, or we do not know how much life we have. So we should be well prepared, and the way to prepare is to be equipped with the correct knowledge, inshallah. All right, so inshallah bismillah, we will end our class here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Jazakumullah khairan to everyone for joining, and request the sisters that have joined to please attend our upcoming sisters halaqah, which is on Saturday, this Saturday, January 27th. You can come yourself if you know you have children or sibling sisters, or you have daughters, please bring them as well. It's a good beneficial gathering for sisters to bond, and you know, a relaxed gathering where they can bond in an Islamic environment, and also with fun activities and games. And this is very important, especially for the sisters and inshallah for the brothers in the upcoming halaqah. We will end. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.